by Holly Doyle, looking for an out. Shoeshan and Coltrane, head to head towards the line. Shoeshan wins again.
We're turning into the spring of Royal Ascot now. We're celebrating for the next 5 minutes.
But Kinross, in the form of his life. Emily Upjohn bounces back to win the QIPCO British Champions, Fillies and Mares. They're off. Boye down the outside is beginning to close now. And Baybridge has won the champion. Hello and welcome to the QIPCO British Champions Day preview by Club 26 and for Club 26 members. I'm thrilled to be on this and hosting, and I think Club 26 is doing brilliant things. It's great that so many of you are going to be racing for just a tenner on Saturday at one of the biggest and best race days of the year. We're going to have some special guests on through the show. It should take around an hour, and I've also got a brilliant panel, Jess, Stafford and Danny Archer from Racing TV, to help decipher some of these races and hopefully find a few winners. Jess, you're going to be on course showcasing the racing to the world. You must be excited. It kind of closes off the flat season, doesn't it, as we have champion jockeys announced and all the best horses coming together in their relative distances. What are you most looking forward to?
Oh, Frankie, I love this day. I think it says racing should be 6 races, but 6 quality races and so many Group 1s, good field sizes. The QE2 is my race of the day. I'm a big fan of Tahira. I think she's been campaigned beautifully by Dermot Weld. Looking forward to seeing what she can do against the boys. And of course, Paddington has been a star all season. So yeah, that will be my highlight race-wise. And then obviously I love seeing real champions getting crowned. So William Buick, brilliant, but I've got a real soft spot for Billy Loughnane, who will be the champion apprentice on Saturday.
Lots of stars mentioned by Jess. Danny, you're going to be doing the same on course, presenting, covering the action. What's some of the standouts that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I think Jess has mentioned the QE2. I think that's going to be a really red-hot renewal. But I think there's a couple of interesting storylines, really. I guess you've got Trushan. He's aiming for his 4th win in the long-distance cup. And what a fantastic return to action he's made this year after wind surgery. I think he can go close under Holly Doyle in that. You've got Kyprios returning in that race as well. Can he rediscover the form of last year? And for me, the Champion Stakes looks a really fascinating renewal. Okay, we might not have, some of the stars who have won this race in the past, but in Baybridge, who of course down the colours of Barid last year, matched with potentially Mostadaf and a few others in there, including Horizon Door, the French runner. It looks a really open contest. So yeah, really good Group 1 action to enjoy.
All the top horses that we're looking forward to seeing Saturday, and we are going to go through one race at a time. But before we do, we're going to speak to Alex Gray, Club 26 ambassador, about all of the additional things that go on Saturday, as well as the great racing. Alex, you've been going to plenty of these Club 26 days throughout the season. How have you found it so far? What's the atmosphere been like on course? I know that Ascot's sold out, so they've clearly been popular so far.
Yeah, it's always been incredible. I mean, obviously we've had the luxury of it being summer. And so, it's going to be the first October autumnal day, but it's going to be without a doubt, super fun. There's always such good energy. There's always so much to do and see. And actually the days go really fast. The last one I went to, it's like we blinked and then all of a sudden it was time to go home.
And what's been maybe a standout moment for you or day? I know you've gone to a couple of different race courses, and I guess lots of Club 26 members might be going to various race courses for the first time and taking advantage of the tickets that they can get. Out of the few, I think you've been to Newmarket, Haydock, you've been going to Ascot, obviously. What's been your favourite so far?
I'm going to be biased and I'm going to say that Newmarket has been my favourite, but that's simply because I grew up in Suffolk. So it has a special place in my heart. My mum came, I brought her along as well because I had to. I had to. It was a really beautiful day to spend with not only my friends but with her as well.
And Ascot Saturday, there's lots to look forward to. What stands out for you? I know obviously we'll chat racing, but there's so much going on from kind of the party after racing and stuff throughout the day. What can Club 26 members get involved with on the day?
I'm pretty sure there's a jockey masterclass going on, which will be really fascinating. And that's actually one thing I love about Club 26 is that it really places an emphasis on educating the members on racing. It's not just about, going to the races and having a piss up. It's, there are actual animals involved in this, and there's huge, incredible training protocols behind what goes on with what you see in front of your eyes when you're at these race courses. And there's so much behind the scenes, and I think it's incredible that Club 26 makes all of that information accessible to members to learn, and I think really gain and earn a respect for the sport that perhaps they might not have done before.
So the Jockey Masterclass, something that they shouldn't miss. And then Groove Armada after racing as well.
I actually didn't know Groove Armada were playing. Now that has made me even more excited.
There you go. So from the racing to Jockey Masterclasses, you can meet a racehorse as well on site. And I think you can probably attest to this from days you've been before. Having a designated area for Club 26 members is going to be good, because the more that Club 26 members continue to go, meet and see similar faces, and hopefully continue to go on these race days. So do get involved with everything that they've put on for you. Do say hello to Alex, and I'm sure you'll see her as well at the after party. Alex, thank you very much. Have a great day Saturday. We'll see you there.
Thank you. I'll see you there. Thanks, guys.
Alex Gray, Club 26 ambassador, and she made a good point there, didn't she, Danny, that there's plenty to do on course, especially on Saturday. I know I would be guilty of this in the past. I'd be breakfast and a pint and just get there just before the first race with the lads. But especially Saturday more than ever, if the guys and girls get there in good time, there's loads to do and see, from jockeys being crowned to masterclasses to activations on course. And I really think they should make an effort to do and see as much as they can.
No, for sure, Frankie. And I think, Champion Series in conjunction with Ascot, they've worked really hard to make it a day for the family. Whether you're 3 years old, you're 33 years old, or you're 93 years old, there's something for everyone to get involved in. And I think that's what makes it such a special day. It's the culmination of the flat season. Yes, there's some fantastic action on the track, but it's also educating people off the track, getting that new generation of race goers in. And also people, I've been a race goer for years, but even when I go and see a jockey masterclass, I'm still learning something new at my age as well. So yeah, there's something for everyone.
That's not off the track, but pre-racing. You mentioned on the track and all the action and the top horses at the start of the show. Let's talk racing now. We're going to go through the first 5 of the 6 races, starting with the first, which is the QIPCO British Champions Long Distance Cup. This is the furthest that horses will go on Saturday, and this is for the stayers, the horses that have got to be really tough. And there are some tough horses in here. Kyprios is your market leader, who had an unbelievable season last year, but has had an injury to deal with. So there's potentially some question marks there. And then I think it's really fascinating because you've got Trushan, Coltrane and Trawlerman, last year's 1, 2 and 3 in this race, all going against each other. So it's a tricky race to decipher. Danny, how do you make sense of this one?
I just think before we start, it's very, very important to note about the ground at Ascot at the minute. So there's a lot of rain forecast. Storm Babbitt has hit Britain very, very hard, and there's more rain forecast in the days before. So it is worth noting this track at the moment will be on the round course, as you saw on that graphic, but there is the possibility of this being run on the inside track as well, because at the moment, that's where the better ground is at Ascot. So with your bets, just be a little bit careful, because one track at the minute is riding much quicker than the other. But I still think you're going to need a horse this weekend who relishes soft and heavy ground. And with that in mind, I think for me, Trushan's still the one to be. He's looking for his 4th straight win in the race for Alan King and Holly Doyle. And listen, after undergoing wind surgery, having disappointed on his first 2 starts this term, he's looked right back to his best, winning the Doncaster Cup and then winning the Prix de Cadran. Now, you could argue the Prix de Cadran fell apart. Emily Dickinson, his main rival there, was bitterly disappointing. But the strength and level of his form matched with the course and distance form he's got at Ascot, I think just gives him the edge. For me, I'm a massive Kyprios fan. He was fantastic last year, champion stayer in Europe, winning all 6 of his starts. Myself and Jess were at the Curragh when he was beaten by Eldar Eldarov, and he blew very heavy after the race. He clearly will come on a ton for that. But you've got to forget, this isn't a horse who very nearly didn't race again because of a hind infection that he got. So while he's on the comeback trail, I think up against a teak-tough Trushan, who's at his best, I think just about he gets the vote, despite Kyprios clearly being the best horse in the race on official ratings. He's £4 clear. But I think keep it simple here. The bigger prices, maybe Sweet William could be one in the E-ball. But I think at the moment, Trushan for me, Jess.
Jess, you're smiling when Danny says keep it simple. What are your thoughts?
No, I just think this is all about if Trushan has got that fight that they thought he had lost at the beginning of the season. We've obviously seen him come back remarkably and put up what was a wild performance at Doncaster when he won, when he was way too free, and talent just got him through it, really, with Holly Doyle doing a remarkable effort and pulling her arms out all the way round. And then he had it his own way in France, and it was just pretty effortless, wasn't it? This race will be different. I don't think Coltrane is going to lie down like he didn't do last year as well. And he fought all the way, but Trushan just was able to tough it up. And I remember Alan King saying at the beginning of the season that he's just had one too many fights. So if he comes into a real fight situation, that's where I'm not certain that Trushan has proved to me yet that that's what he's still got in him. Kyprios, I think you're right. We saw a horse that it's kind of a shadow of himself. You know, is he back? But Aidan O'Brien is so exceptional at doing just that with these horses. We've seen the miracle of bringing back Auguste Rodin twice this season. So I wouldn't want to be put off him at all. But I think something like Sweet William at a big price wouldn't be a bad shout, just as an each way out angle. He's chased home Trushan before. He's not really had it his own way, really, even in the E-ball. This is a kind of different kind of race, but just against some of the likely types, just at an each way approach, I just want to stay away from the favourites because they've all got their own question marks.
So Trushan for Danny. Jess, I'll give you a £5. You're putting £2.50 each way on Sweet William?
Yes, that's my kind of bet.
There we are. Sweet William each way for myself as well. The top two, I think they've got each other to beat. I'd rather be playing for one to hit the places. So we'll move on now to the second race. For the sprinters, the speedsters, they've got to go 6 furlongs in a straight line in the QIPCO British Champions Sprint Stakes. And that man, Frankie Dettori, rides Kinross at the top of the market, who won this last year, is a super consistent horse. He won 4 back-to-back last year, hasn't quite done the same this year, but comes here in arguably as good form, and I think it's probably one of Frankie's better chances of the day. Danny, I'll come to you first. Is it Kinross's to lose?
Well, he's skinnier now, Frankie, of course, because Big Shaquille was not declared for the race, so he's constricted in price even more. And listen, this guy is, in Dettori's twilight, he's really been a superstar for him. He's taken him to Group 1 glory in a foray, in a range of other races, including this, and the Farewell Tour will continue into Hong Kong and probably the Breeders' Cup as well with Kinross. But yeah, I think he is skinny enough at the prices, though. He did it well. I think he's a better horse over 7 furlongs, but the stiff 6 furlongs here really suits him. And again, ground conditions will be in his favour. He's looked back to his best with a couple of good performances in the city of York. Thought he was unlucky at Longchamp. The winner that day didn't do him the best of favours, although I don't think it was Dettori's finest hour. I think he probably got him into a bit more trouble than he should have done. But on all known form, he is the one to beat. But I think no horse has defended this title in 20 years. That's something to maybe bear in mind with Kinross. And maybe at a price, I'll take a chance with Run to Freedom. Posted a career best to take this when he was second in this event at 150-1 last year. Repeat bid has clearly been the plan all season. He made no impression in the Sprint Cup at Haydock. But I think that run was too bad to be true. And he's run a couple of decent races in defeat so far this term. But him and maybe Spycatcher, who's maybe one of the pace angles in the race, could serve it up to Kinross. But listen, if you fancy the Trushan Kinross double, you could be in Clover, 2 short price favourites early on if you're taking on Kyprios. But there's a couple of question marks at Kinross. He's the most likely winner, but I think in a big race like this, a big field, I think he's worth taking on.
Jess, with or without the favourite?
Yeah, I loathe to be without him because I think he's the best horse in the race by a long way. You know, the ratings confirm that as well, and he plies his trade in Group One company from month to month. And I think he was unlucky last time out at Longchamp, and he's been campaigned with really this in mind. And this is probably Frankie's likeliest chance of the whole weekend. So for that reason, he'll probably be overbet a little bit. I think his price will be too short because it's the Frankie factor a little bit. And I'm in agreement with Danny that there's a lot of value around. I like the Dream, but she's the shortest price that I would ever want to back her at. She's normally a lot bigger than around sort of 6-1 that you can get her at. And I also think that spot on to give Run to Freedom a bit of a high mention. He was second in this race at 150-1 last year. He was a runner-up in the Haydock Sprint Cup as well. And that Haydock Sprint Cup form, I think, is going to be really tested. There's a lot of horses within that are being tried again. A horse that I think is kind of punched above her weight a little bit is Makarova. Now, again, big price, but I think this race is all about that. If you can get 4 places, she's a horse that I think just stayed on quite eye-catchingly in the Prix de l'Abbé last time. She ran 4th in the Nunthorpe Stakes. Yes, that's all been over 5 furlongs, so she's got to test it out a little bit, but she's not really been stopping. You could find essentially worth 40-1 shots in this race, so I don't mind her. And then a horse that I saw at Newbury live was Sense of Duty. She was 3rd after a long layoff, and she definitely stripped as if she would need the run. She's a horse that they held in really high regard before she went off with an injury, and I think this was always going to be the plan. That was always going to be a stepping stone. So let's hope that she won't mind too much of the soft ground. Tom Marquand knows her really well. So 2 fillies in the field, Sense of Duty and Makarova for me.
Big prices for Jess. Danny, who are you sticking with?
It's a tough one. I think for me, my 2 against the field, I get the Sense of Duty line, by the way, but Run to Freedom and maybe Spycatcher, both of those. But listen, you can't write off Millstream. Rohan, he's an Ascot fanboy. There's plenty in here who've got decent form
Danny, one.
As well. I think it's, Kim Ross is
tricky enough.
Lose,
yeah, well, if neither of you are brave enough to go with a favourite, I will. I think it's Kim Ross's to lose. And although it's obviously competitive and he's got to go and do it again, I think he certainly has every chance. So I'm keeping the faith in Frankie, even if the Frankie factor makes him short. We'll move on. The 225, the QIPCO British Champions, Fillies and Mares stake. I think for me, this is probably the trickiest race of the day to find a winner of, or especially out of the ones we're looking at. They've got to go 1.5 miles, 3 wins at the top of the market with Jackie O. There's plenty in here that have raced against each other, which makes it quite tricky. There's a couple of French horses, and they've raced against each other in England and over in France, which muddles it even more for me. Danny, we'll start with you again. What do you think of this one?
My nappiness of the weekend, I think she's an absolutely stonking bet, is Jackie O for Aidan O'Brien. She's bred in the purple. Here she is in all her glory. Galileo, she's a daughter of Jacqueline Quest as well, who was crudely disqualified in a 1,000 guineas a few years ago, won by Special Duty in the end. This was a good performance in the Rathbridge Stakes at Gorham Park. She absolutely hosed up on this occasion. I think there's a lot more progress to come from here going forward. She was poorly positioned in the Blandford, and then she went straight and finished second to Blue Rose Sen in the Prix de l'Opera. Now, don't want to be critical here. I don't think Ryan Moore gave her the best of rides that day, and I think she had a bit too much to do with going against Blue Rose Sen's electric acceleration. They decided to ride her differently, more prominent on that occasion, and I think they do the same tactics here. That's going to really play into her favour. Weirdly, Red Riding Hood, who is her probable pacemaker, beat her earlier on this season, but I think they've put her in to make sure there's a decent pace to the race. And I think Jackie O is going to be a filly to really note going forward. I think this is just the start. Group 1 glory awaits here in a race won by the likes of Magical in the past, and she can serve it up to Free Wind, who I think could be over the top, to be honest. I think it's been a tough old season for Free Wind. She was disappointing in the Lily Langtree. She ran really well to then finish second to Warm Heart in the Yorkshire Oaks. She's then running an arc to then back up again. I think might just ask a bit too much. I think Time Lock probably on all known form will have to improve again, but there is the likelihood of more progression. And really, I'd be with another Coolmore runner in Above the Curve as well at a bigger price. She's got decent form on soft ground as well, which will play to her strength. She's got a Group 1 win on her CV. But Jackie O, I think this is an absolute good thing.
Jackie O, best bet of the day for Danny. Wasting no time there. Jess, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I agree that this is tricky, and I think this is, with fillies, this is all filly and mare race. They get to the point of the year where they just had a bit of enough, had enough a little bit. I would suggest anyone listening to this to go and make sure you go to the paddock as much as you can. I know it'll be so much fun being out in the bars and being on track, but go to the paddock and have a look at them in the parade ring, because you get to see a little bit up close and personal how they're looking in their coats. If horses are getting a little bit willy, if they've had a bit of a clip as well, it means that they've kind of turned a little corner and they've got their winter jacket on, basically. And fillies can be like that a little bit quicker than sometimes the colts. So it'll be important to see who's really like glowing and who's not. And it might be difficult on Saturday with the rain that we're expecting. But I agree with Danny. I think he makes an important point that some of these horses might have just come to the end of what's been quite a hard season, whereas some are just beginning to just get to a point where they're actually flourishing. So Free Wind and Jackie O, I'm afraid, Danny, are both in that category. I think Jackie
How can
O's
you,
been
Jess?
on the
How
go.
can you say that? Oh.
She's been on the go since April. Look at where she's been. She's been to Longshot. She was in the Curragh. She's been all over this country, that Ireland, where she's based, France. And that would have been a tough race last time. Yes, she ran a blinded, but it would have been a tough race. I know, again, Aidan O'Brien can't do any wrong, but I just think that might be one too many. For me, Time Lock is that horse that is just getting to the point where she's really thriving. They talked about her win in France 2 starts ago with being a real confidence boost. She then backed that up when she bolted up at Newmarket last time. I think this is a great opportunity for her. She's really just sort of finding herself, finding her feet, so to speak. And I hope that it will give Harry and Roger Charlton their last opportunity to win a Group 1, essentially as joint licence holders, before Harry takes it over on his own, and William Buick replacing Ryan Moore isn't a bad substitute.
Just to recap for those taking notes in case you missed it, Danny, your selection?
Jackie O, I don't know if she's named after Jackie Onassis, but one thing's for sure, she'll be in front on Saturday, Frank.
Jess?
Time Lock for me. Really impressed with her last time and hope she can continue improving.
I'm going to have a swing each way at Rue Boissonade, who I think was really unlucky last time out. Jess made a great point there as well, for all the fun that there is on course. For this race, the third race, for the Fillies and Mares in particular, get down to the parade ring and have a look. Jess says you need to be looking for a filly that is glowing on the day. Before we move on to the fourth race, we're going to be joined by jockey Cieren Fallon, I think, from the golf course. So I know he's in the car. Cieren, hello, bud. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yourself?
I'm all right. Well, have you been playing yet?
I've been playing back in the car now, just in the car park, just going to go home.
Dare I ask how the golf has gone?
Not too bad. I've had better rounds. Weather wasn't great, wasn't generous to us, so my bad game will blame the weather.
An avid golfer in his spare time, Cieren Fallon. You've had many great days racing, particularly at Ascot, and if we rewind to a couple of years ago, you were crowned champion apprentice 2 years on the trot, which is a key feature of British Champions Day, with the season coming to an end and jockeys being crowned champion and owners, trainers, and all the best horses coming together. It's a real celebration, and something maybe that some people new to racing might miss. They might just see it as a race day and miss that at the start of the day. For jockeys, what does this day mean? To see who's crowned champion?
For me personally, it's one of the most important days racing. You know, like you said, you've got travellers from all over the world. It's Champions Day. It's for the champions, and to be crowned champion with all your fellow colleagues there to congratulate you. You know, it's a real. It's not a short-term goal. It's a long-term goal, and it's something you've had to achieve throughout the whole year. You've got to perform at a high caliber standards for the whole year, not just in the one race. So it means a lot, and for everyone to come round and congratulate you, you know, you get a real nice warm welcome, and it's a real good feeling, and it's a feeling that I won't forget.
And you did the champion apprentice title 2 years on the trot. William Buick will obviously see crown champion again this year. You mentioned briefly there that you have to work all year for it. It's not just, you know, one race day or one meeting. It's a celebration of the entire year. How hard is that to do, to be champion jockey?
it's probably the hardest thing to achieve. You know yourself, Frankie, that there's so many good jockeys out there, and you're competing with them day in, day out, and you've got to have a good agent and good stables behind you. But to perform at the highest level, and the likes of William Buick, Oisin Murphy, Tom Lackland, Ollie Doyle, Ryan Moore when he's around, obviously he has to go to Ireland, etc. But you're competing with them on a day in, day out, and you know you've got to be riding winners every single day to be able to achieve something like this. So it must be one of the hardest things to achieve. Don't get me wrong, to ride classic winners is obviously very hard, but you've just got to be lucky once. Whereas you've got to be, you've got to consist. You've got to maintain your ride throughout the whole year. So I think it's probably the hardest thing to achieve.
Incredible feat for jockeys, and obviously, as well as crowning the champions, jockeys, trainers, and owners, we will have a large selection of the best horses on Saturday. You've got a ride in the last, which we'll touch on in a second. But before that, throughout the card, are there any races in particular, or clashes, or certain horses that you're looking forward to?
I'm very much looking forward to seeing Paddington in the Queen Elizabeth. I think he's been a sensational horse. The last run, obviously, hit and miss. But before that, he's been remarkable, isn't he? He's been the horse to watch this year. And in the champion states, I must say, must have. He's been a real good horse, especially at York the last day with Frankie on board. I thought was exceptional. And in the long distance cup, QIPCO, I'm excited to see him back. He probably wasn't 100% fit the last day, so see him on the track here at Ascot again. I think being 100% fit, I think we're going to see the best of him.
Paddington, Mostadaf, and QIPCO, the names that Cieren mentioned there, and then Latam, you're riding the last.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to riding him. This is the race that is well suited to him. He's a horse that you've got to hit the front late. Ascot is a horse you can take. Ascot's a track you can take your time on. He didn't disgrace himself at York the last day. Obviously, this is a big step up, but I think with the field we've got and the attack that you've got to ride him, I'm excited.
And as well as the racing, I know that I saw you at Newmarket on one of the Club 26 days. So you've been able to see all of the 18 to 26-year-olds that have been coming racing as a result of Club 26. Obviously, you have a family heavily involved in racing, but at the same time, your upbringing wasn't necessarily in racing. And you probably know as well as anyone how important it is to get young faces into the sport. I know that Saturday's sold out, but the fact that people can come to Champions Day for a tenner is brilliant, isn't it?
Oh, it's amazing. It's the best stage racing. To get it for so cheap is incredible. The things on offer, like there's going to be a members only area, I believe, and that's going to be amazing. It's a good opportunity for people to get involved, and you get behind the scene tours and race day previews, which is exceptional. To get the opportunity to have them, I'm sure is the reason why they got Club 26, and I'm very jealous that when I was growing up we didn't have this opportunity. So if you're not a member, I'd definitely advise to get signed up and become a member, because you're getting these incredible opportunities.
And some of them did send in some questions for you, Cieren. One of them is, what's the first thing you will do when you get to Ascot on Saturday?
First thing I'll do is I'll get changed and go straight onto the track and walk the track. I think that's very important on race days.
And just if people didn't know why you walk the track, what are you looking for?
So what we're going to look for, there's going to be lots of rain. You're going to be trying to potentially look for the best ground. And for me personally, what I do is when I look at course, I kind of picture how the race is going to be ran. You go through the form beforehand, obviously the night before, and kind of preview where you're going to be sat in the race, and kind of walk it and just kind of picture where you're going to be in the race and what stage.
So for anyone, if you see the jockeys out on the track, they're finding the good ground, trying to figure out how they're going to best ride their race. And then finally, before I let you go, Cieren, is what's a track you haven't ridden that you'd like to, and why?
Track. In England?
No, anywhere in the world?
It would have to be Hong Kong Happy Valley. I think that's an incredible race course. Great horses, great prize money. Andrea's just moved over there recently, and he's killing out there. So I'd love to be able to go one day to Happy Valley.
Happy Valley. Brilliant. Cieren, thank you very much. Best of luck for Saturday. And I'm sure there'll be lots of Club 26 members there as well. So best of luck and see you then.
Cheers, Frankie. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks to jockey Cieren Fallon, who will be riding in the last on Saturday. We're now going to move on to the 305, which is for the milers. So these horses are going to be going 1 mile, the Queen Elizabeth II Stakes. I love these races. I think a 1 mile race is a real test of tough horses, but you've also got to be very classy to win these. And Paddington, which Cieren mentioned there, who's been a star all year, is pretty short at the top of the market. Tahira, who Danny made a point of mentioning at the start of the show, will take on the boys for the first time. And then you've just got loads of good horses in behind the 2,000 guineas winner. You've got Big Rock, like Nashwa, I'm a big fan of. Again, obviously, on Champions Day, another brilliant race. They all are. Danny, Tahira, can she beat the boys?
This is a right puzzle for punters. The concern you've got with Tahira, first off, is whether she'll run. Dermot World has warned that if the ground does continue to deteriorate at Ascot, then she might not run in this event. But fingers crossed she does, because it'll be a fascinating battle between her and Paddington. The thing with Tahira is she's got soft ground form. She absolutely dotted up in the Moyglare last year on soft ground. So as long as there's soft in the description, I think she's probably a likely runner. You make the point, Frankie, that she's only run against her own sex so far. I don't think that should be a negative, though. I think when the call comes in to take on the boys, I think she'll be more than ready for it. And obviously, she also has form at Ascot. Okay, granted, that was round a bend in the Coronation Stakes. But I don't think there's going to be any fears there. So, yes, I think she's going to go very, very close. I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't run in the wait for the Breeders' Cup. But obviously, I hope they do. But I think on form, I'd still be with Paddington, despite how good she was in the Matron Stakes. He, of course, has been one of the stars of the season. He's £4 clear on official ratings. He's reeled off 4 Group 1s, the Irish 2,000 Guineas, the St James's Palace, the Eclipse, and then the Sussex Stakes. Came up short in the Juddmonte. Aidan O'Brien admits that maybe that was run too many in a short space of time. He couldn't do the Giants Causeway. But he's had a break since, and maybe he'll just have that spark back. I guess the concern that Jess has mentioned before is he's been on the go since March the 26th. So it's been a long season for Paddington, even with that break. But he's also got form, of course, at Royal Ascot round the bend. But he showed in the Eclipse and the Sussex that really a straight track as well will be no problem for him. Factor Cheval's an interesting runner. We see this one in the ISO in the pink sleeves. Stayed on well. Paddington got first run, but is another horse who will be suited by slow ground conditions. So he's one of the bigger price maybe to note, the French raider. But I agree, Frankie. I think Nashwa's a right player here. She's been a brilliant mare in her own right. She was a fine winner of the Falmouth Stakes earlier on this year. And she ran 2 really good races in defeat in the Juddmonte International and then in the Irish Champion Stakes, where she came from another parish to take third. So she's got to go close, I think. I think Connections have decided to go here for a combination of the ground, but also the fact that she's proven over a mile. So I think it's between those two. I'd be taking on Tahira. I think it might end up being a clash between Paddington and Nashwa, and also give a quick nod to Big Rock, who looks probably being the front runner in the race. He's a French horse, but he's run some good races so far this year. So tough one. I think Paddington would just edge it for me, but I just hope he's not over the top. But it's a fascinating QE2.
It is. You mentioned Paddington and Nashwa there, Danny, and Nashwa did finish in front of Paddington in the Juddmonte. But Jess, I don't know what your thoughts are on this. Is that as a result of Paddington having to go and get Mostadaf? Did Mostadaf kind of ruin Paddington's chances that day, or do you think that form holds up and Nashwa could beat Paddington again?
Yeah, it's a combination of them all, really. I think Paddington was, stretched out to the 10.5 furlongs. That was his second time running over that trip. He's predominantly been running over the mile. I think the mile really is his optimum. I think Danny summed it up really well. Like, he's essentially done something that not many horses, well, one very standout horse, a horse called Giants Causeway, did quite a while ago, to try and keep up this sequence, you know, month after month and tick off all these boxes. But he was just hanging a little bit. He just looked awkward and uncomfortable, and the ground was very fast at York when he was beaten, and he was probably just stretched out, but also just succumbed to a very good race. And tactically, it was bossed from the front by Frankie Dettori. The pace in this race will be interesting. I can imagine that Big Rock, the French horse, is going to bound out from stall 6. They'll have like an arrow formation going down the track, and they'll all be following him. And I think it could set up really nicely for Nashwa, who likes to come and take her own time and come off the pace a little bit. And she'll be the one that is the kind of joker in the pack, because she was going to go to the Champion Stakes. She's here instead. But I'm not certain she loves this ground. This is very heavy for her. She does have influence from her pedigree that suggests that she won't mind it. But I think when she ran poorly at Goodwood on soft ground, it was probably blamed. And I think she's not a horse that would want it really bottomless. Now, that's saying a lot of them wouldn't be. But I think they'll take their chance with Tahira. I think Dermot Weld is very careful and very cautious. But she's the filly that will be the freshest of them all. A bit like what I was saying earlier with the likes of Time Lock. We still don't know how good she is. Her full sister, Tanawa, only got better as she got older. She was actually a lot bigger filly than she had been, than we saw her when she was at Ascot. She put on weight, and she looks like she's strengthened up over the summer break from Ascot to Leopardstown when she was last seen. I think that they need to go for it. I think they need to go and show what she can do against the boys and against her elders. And I would be happy to take Paddington on. Just slight nervousness, because I think it's going to be a real good battle. But I think we've got a filly that I haven't got to the bottom of yet. Whereas I think Paddington, we might have just seen the best of him earlier on in the season.
The thing is, Frankie, if they don't have Paddington Bear there, I'm not going. So I hope they've got him in soon ready. I want
if Paddington Bear's there, will he win, Danny?
God, I think he's got to, hasn't he? Surely it's all written in the stars.
I think
he was
so.
there at York, and he didn't read the script.
True.
So we'll see.
I think Paddington gets my vote. Danny?
Yeah, Paddington narrow for me.
And Tahira for you, Jess?
And one for the girls. We've got to give all the girls listening, got to take the Paddington Bear on and go with a princess, whatever Tahira means. It's probably some sort of princess word somewhere. There she is. She's doing it for her.
For Jess and the girls. Right. The 3:45, they've got to go 10 furlongs. The QIPCO Champions Stakes. And the French horse tops the market. Horizon D'Or, Bay Bridge, King of Steel, the Derby second is in there. Mostadaf, who we've just been talking about, is in there. Another pretty tricky race, maybe the one that people will find hardest to be too confident on any of these. Although I said that about the Fillies and Mares race, and Danny came out shouting about Jockey. So we'll see what he thinks of this. Do you like the French horse, Danny?
This is another messy puzzle, Frankie. Horizon D'Or is a fascinating runner. There have been 3 French train winners of the Champions Stakes since the first Champions Day. And like the first of them, Cieren Fallon, Horizon D'Or will head to Ascot without a Group 1 win on his CV. He's never even run in a Group 1 contest. He's a gelding, so he hasn't had the chance yet. Because he's had that cruelest cut of all, he's had to wait until the Champion Stakes to take on some of these. So, listen, he's got good form. He won well in the Prix-Dollar. But on all-known form, is he as good as some of these other horses who are set to line up here? I think he's got questions to answer, despite the fact that he's a horse who's firmly on the upgrade. He's in deeper waters here. The ground won't be a concern. He's proven on soft ground. But I just think on all-known form, he's worth taking on. Mostadaf, I'd be surprised if he runs. I think despite what the ground conditions, he really wants top of the ground. I think the Breeders' Cup would be tailor-made for him. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's pulled out. My Prospero, he ran well in the race. He's third in it last year, beaten just half a length. And listening to Tom Marquand, I think connections think there should be more to come from him. But is he just not up to that level? King of Steel, the most hyped up horse this year, and I can't have him for love nor money. You could give me £1 million, and I'd rather take Jess and you to Barbados for 6 months than back this horse. I think
that won't last 6 months.
He's a big, imposing individual who I think is going to get better with age. And despite this really good run behind August Rodin in the Derby, he's flattered to deceive on a couple of occasions. Listen, his Jockey got the cruelest cut of all. He got the sack after the champion stakes, the Irish champion at Brunel. He didn't deserve that. I don't think the horse was good enough on the day, and I still don't think he'll be good enough here, even with Frankie Dettori aboard. I think he'll be better over 12 furlongs next year. Look at the way he won the King Edward VII at Royal Ascot, but I cannot have him at any price to win a champion stake. So that leads me to the defending champion, Bay Bridge. I think there's a lot going for him here. As you can see, he sees off My Prospero, who finishes well along with Adayar, and then you've got Baid, who was back in fourth. But he did it nicely. His only win since was the September Stakes at Kempton. He comes into this on the back of a sixth in the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe. That would be my only concern. That was a hard race at Longchamp. He didn't get home, but I think back here should see him in really good stead, and it would be good for Richard Kingscote to get a nice winner on the board. He's a former winner of the Brigadier Gerard. He beat Mostadaf by 5 lengths on that occasion. So if you look back in his form, Bay Bridge, he should go close and he won't mind ground conditions. There's a few in this, Frankie. They've got a few questions to answer. Bay Bridge, I think he's already crossed them.
I agree with King of Steel. I probably shouldn't stick my neck out here and say that a horse won't win. It's probably the worst thing to do. But yeah, I'd be taking the holiday to Barbados as well, Danny. After the Derby, I was getting quite excited by it when he won at Ascot, but since I think he has been disappointed. I agree. I'm struggling really to find the winner of this. Jess, what do you think? Are you going to tell us that King of Steel wins?
I think you're both wrong, and I think that you're both extremely disrespectful to the horse that was second in the Derby, to Auguste Rodin, who's just gone and proved that form. But more importantly, he was third in the King George in what was probably the best race we've had all year. The form has been proven by the fact that Hookham, yes, obviously he didn't get his ground in the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe, but more Westover, who did get his ground in the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe, ran an absolute blinder. I think that he ran an admirable race against his elders. This is a lesser race really than the King George, so he just needs to show that level again. Leopardstown, it didn't work out. Now Kevin Stott, rightly or wrongly, will take lots of different views on this, but the English jockeys rode Leopardstown all wrong. We know that. We know Holly Doyle did it. We know Jim Crowley did it in the race afterwards as well. I don't think that was his best performance based on the way that he was ridden. I can't believe you can say that he's been disappointing since Epsom because of that. He beat the St. Ledger winner at Ascot, at Royal Ascot. So I think you need to you can be either with Danny and Frankie, you can be with me. I think King of Steel, especially if they move,
Barbados or not.
Oh, I don't need that.
Well, I think we're going to have to get a new person to come with us, Frankie.
That's right. With all my winnings on King of Steel, I can take myself there. But I think that if they do move the track from the outer to the inner course, which from my reading, they've moved the decision to Friday at 12. It's Thursday at 6 p.m. right now. They're moving the decision to tomorrow at 12, and they were going to make the decision at Saturday morning. That makes me believe that they're pushing it forward because they know the inevitable is going to come. There's so much rain due at Ascot. There is a better surface on the inner course that will suit King of Steel. It will suit a lot of them, but it will be a little bit easier for most of them, but it will be more preference to him. Frankie Dettori is on board. He is in stall 1. That's the only worry. He's going to get a little bit trapped. But if there's one man that can be able to work out how to do a job from stall 1, that's Frankie Dettori. Bay Bridge has got lots of questions to answer for me. He probably had a tough race at Longshot. Horizon Door beat Jack Darcy last time, who absolutely flopped in his race afterwards. The only horse that I think that has got a good chance at a bit of a price is Via Sistina, the filly. I think fair play to George Bowie for throwing her in. They could have gone somewhere else, but she'll have her ground, and she's perfect at this trip. She's against the boys for the first time. She's the only one I can see against them. This is not a great champion stakes, so I think King of Steel can win it.
King of Steel. So I've got to split it. Well, we know I'm not backing King of Steel. Via Sistina, who you mentioned, Jess, I would give an each way chance to be my selection in the race. So Danny, Bay Bridge, Jess, King of Steel, and myself, Via Sistina, each way. That's 5 of the 6 races on Saturday talked through, and hopefully you picked up some interesting insight and maybe a few winners from Danny and Jess. Before I let you both go, we have a couple of questions from Club 26 members. The question that everyone always wants to know the answer to: Who is your strongest fancy at QIPCO British Champions Day? Danny?
Got to be Jackie O in that Fillies and Mares. I think she's the undoubted nap. And if you want a double, put her in with Trushan. But I think for me, it's all about Jackie O.
A nap double. Brave.
You got to do it. You got to go home or go hard, Frankie. Probably both.
Go hard, hopefully. Jess, strongest fancy of the day on Saturday?
Strongest fancy is that Danny is unfortunately wrong about most of the suggestions, including King of Steel not getting beat. But in all seriousness, Time Lock, I'm taking him on again as well against Jackie O. I think she's on a real upward curve, and I'm looking forward to seeing her. And in the final race, because we didn't have a selection in that, Barrador for George Bowie.
Barrador in the final, but you're taking on Danny's nap with Time Lock, and you're taking on you're backing King of Steel, who Danny can't see being beat. Maybe in the
doing Voldemort, King of Steel. I mean, unbelievable.
In the Dome after racing on Saturday, we can split it in the middle and get either of you on stage and have Club 26 members in Danny Archer camp or Jess Stafford camp.
The good thing is by then we'll know who's won, but maybe we should have like an arm wrestle or something.
Well, that dinner's on the table, Jess. That dinner's on the table.
I can't wait.
So by Saturday, one of you could be a Club 26 hero. You'll be in high demand at every Club 26 day next year. They're the strongest fancies of the day on Saturday. Another question from the members is, what is one thing that they should definitely do? Bear in mind that these are people that maybe are newish to racing, or it might be their first Champions Day. There's a lot to go on. So what's one thing they should definitely make sure they do, Danny?
I think the Jockey Masterclass, definitely make sure you can take a look at that, because it's just quite eye-opening. It might, I've seen you do them before, Frankie, even what a jockey eats day to day, or how much exercise
I thought you were going to say me do a masterclass.
Oh, I wouldn't mind that either. But no, kind of, it's quite eye-opening seeing that sort of stuff. I'd definitely take a look around Ascot. It's a phenomenal racetrack, brilliant viewing experience. So make sure you just walk around and have a look. And I'd also keep an eye out for the bloke behind me. There he is on enable. Obviously, we don't know if it's his final day or not, but I was always told, if you get the chance to watch Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic, Tiger Woods before they retire, make sure you take the opportunity. So get to see Frankie Dettori in the flesh. You might not get another chance, but who knows? Yes,
definitely. As you said, we might not see him at Ascot again. And if you've got the chance on a Champions Day, then do go and see him. And I think as well, it's important to say, putting faces to names. If you go and watch the Champion Apprentice jockey crowned for this year, Billy Lockname, you will then also see him teach you and some younger racegoers how to ride a horse. I know that we all see jockeys' names on race cards and we hear them, but you don't always put a face to name, particularly with some of the up-and-coming jockeys. So I think going to see Billy Lockname is well worth it, either being Champion Apprentice or in the Jockey Masterclass. Jess, one thing for you, what should these racegoers definitely do?
I'm going to cheat and I'm going to have two. For me, racing is all about the horse. Yes, we've got our human stars, and we talked about Billy and Frankie, but it is all about the horse. This is why we do it. We love these animals. So, and I mentioned it earlier, but get to the paddock, go and have a look at them up close and personal. Go to the pre-parade ring as well. It's a wonderful space at Ascot where you can see horses getting saddled, seeing the trainers up close and personal with them as they have those final moments before the race, and you see the horses walk around and how they're taking in the atmosphere. These are the best horses that we have in Europe. And you'll never see horses of this nature normally day to day if you're going to another race meeting. So make sure you just get as close to them as possible when you take yourself away from the bars and everything else. And then the second thing is that if you're a Frankie Foster fan, you'll want to find him, and you'll find him afterwards in that dome. He will be making shapes, and we know that he's good at that. I think it's Groove Armada that's playing, and that is always a highlight. That actually really goes off.
My dancing, or
well, that and the fact that there'll be everyone doing a nice little circle around you. Hopefully, we'll try and make that happen, and Danny can be in there as well, or myself maybe, depending on how many winners and losers we get.
You'll be in the air when they're pushing you back because you've tipped up King of Steel. You'll be doing a crowd surf.
And they'll be dropping me if he wins, if he loses.
There we go. Jess Stafford from Racing TV, crowd surfing on British Champions Day. Oh,
That's
can't
the real
wait.
sight.
Yeah. Jess, I'm going to push you for one more question, actually, because I think this is fun for people to do that are new to racing, and you can keep it super, super simple. But people are looking at a race card, or they've listened to us tonight and they're still thinking, what the hell are these guys talking about? They're going to go to the parade ring. They're going to look at 10 horses. Super simple. What's one thing they can look for? They're going to try and pick the winner of the race.
Really simple, and you're gonna
Yep.
think I'm mad. Look at their ears. Have a look at a horse's ears. What are they doing? Are they nice and pricked up? Are they looking around? I love looking at horses who are taking it all in. If they're going from side to side, they're listening to the noise. They know what they are. Ears are a sign of intelligence, and they are really important to me anyway. So nice big ears are very important. There's so much more. I could give you a whole lesson on what I look for in the paddock, and if you want to, you can come up and ask me. But I love nice big ears.
There we go. Some people love looking at the form. We've done our best tonight, but I think it is fun. If you're quite new to racing, honestly, go to the parade ring, have a look at the horses, find some nice ears, and you might pick yourself a winner. Loads to look forward to on Saturday. We've mentioned plenty of it on the Champions Lawn from Jockey's Masterclasses. I'm doing a talk with a vet. If you want to come and meet a racehorse live on the course, you can go to the parade ring. Plenty of bars. Ascot's huge. There's loads to see and do. Go and enjoy it. It's only cost you a tenner. There'll be loads of Club 26 members there. It's going to be a good day. Jess, Danny, thank you very much for this evening. Enjoy Saturday, because both of you are there, myself included, and we'll see all of you crowd surfing in the Dome.